It's great to be joined today by Fred Ledbetter, who's an advisor for World Wi-Fi. World Wi-Fi is a decentralized free Wi-Fi network powered by blockchain. Fred, this is such an interesting project. I've been covering over the last 5 to 6 years a number of different initiatives that say we want a ubiquitous, total coverage, free Wi-Fi network because of the great democratizing power of the internet. And yet, we haven't actually achieved that yet. And there's a number of different reasons why, which we could talk about. But let's start with sort of what's the approach to free Wi-Fi that World Wi-Fi is putting together? If someone isn't familiar with the project, what are the sort of overarching concepts that are being used here?
Yeah, you started with a good summary of that. A free global Wi-Fi enabled by blockchain. What the big picture is that we're going to have home router owners join us, and they will put an access point on their home router wherever they are in the world and offer a guest user access point. And so guest users nearby will be able to access the internet. And we can do this globally. It really only depends on the timing and the amount we raise in order to do the proper marketing to get people on board in our community.
So, for example, being in Boston, Massachusetts, I am a Comcast internet customer. And one of the things that I get sort of as a feature of there's lots of bad things that happen as a result of being a Comcast customer. But one of the things I get as a feature is that if I'm anywhere out in Boston where there are people nearby that have Comcast internet services, I can tap into what's called the Xfinity sort of public Wi-Fi. I put in my Comcast information and voila, I now have access to this Wi-Fi network, and I might be at the bus station, I might be at a restaurant, sort of wherever. Of course, that is something that Comcast uses to make money, right? They sell that as a feature, as a benefit of being a customer of Comcast, and it only is available in cities and towns where Comcast exists. With World Wi-Fi, this would be something, this would be a network that exists regardless of what internet services are available in a particular locality, right?
Yeah, very much so. Take Boston, for example. I'm in Boston for a couple of days. I walked down Newberry Street yesterday. I looked, and all of the Wi-Fi networks are blocked. That's Boston. If you go to Colorado in Summit County, I have a place there. It's the exact same thing. All Wi-Fi access points are blocked. I live in Moscow. And I'm certain Comcast doesn't have service in Moscow. You walk down the street looking for a Wi-Fi hotspot. They're all blocked. They're all password protected. Some cafes you can get in and access them, but all apartments are blocked.
So let's talk through the logistics here. The device that you need to connect to your router to grow the network, who pays for that?
The network, kind of the physical architecture is there is still an internet connection and a router. The home router owner will download an app from a World Wi-Fi. They will install that, and the app will open up this second access point, the guest user access point. So the home router owner is still paying for connectivity, but now via this guest access point, they're going to make money back to either recoup the cost of connectivity, or in the case where they create their own little network of World Wi-Fi hotspots, they may make money.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I decide to do this and create this hotspot. How do I make money?
We This is where the enabled by blockchain comes into play, and why we really can't do this without blockchain. When you open up this guest access point, uh, that will enable your guests walking down the street or wherever you are to sit down and open up the access point. When they log on, when they register, their data is sent back to an ad serving company that we have, Adrenta. It is kind of mixed and maxed, so it's targeted and it's associated with a particular campaign, and an ad comes back. The user watches the ad. Blockchain verifies that the user watched the ad, sends that data back to the ad company. It's on the dashboard of the advertiser. The advertiser then makes a payment to the home router owner.
So there have been other projects that offer sort of ad-supported free Wi-Fi access, and some of those attempts have failed because people weren't really paying attention to the ads, right? In other words, the conversion rate for the advertisers were very, very low. Talk about how World Wi-Fi is structured such that that won't be a problem, or hopefully won't be a problem.
That's a good point as well. Another project I was working on was advertising supported, but the what we found was the companies didn't put enough marketing expertise into it to kind of drum up these very clever and attractive ads. World Wi-Fi is supported or is built on two companies, Adrenta, which is an advertising company built to service Wi-Fi hotspots. And the other is Radius Wi-Fi, which is the actual provider of the routers and the connectivity. Then what happens in those cases is it goes to Adrenta. Adrenta has a lot of experience, kind of, as I like to say, mixing and matching and coming up with these campaigns based on content, the information about the user, about the local, where the person is located. And putting all of those together, advertisers know who they want to target. For example, if an advertiser sees a more high net worth individual based on that profile that is created by Adrenta, they'll send out a higher profile ad. They'll pay more for the ad. It's very likely the user will watch it because the content applies to them.
How often would one, if they're using the free Wi-Fi, have to watch an ad to stay connected? Is it predetermined in some sense? Is it like every hour, once when you connect?
It's up to the home router owner. They control the sessions. They could make it every 5 minutes, but people just plain won't stay on the system. We're suggesting an hour every hour. They can make it 8 hours if they'd like to.
How many people are doing this currently? In other words, using the app to turn their internet into a World Wi-Fi access point?
Right now, we're in beta testing, and so we have these two companies with the experience of advertising and Wi-Fi access points. World Wi-Fi depends on those two companies, but again, it's enabled by blockchain. Our RAISE, our ICO, all of that is dedicated for, well, I can't quite put it that way, but it's dedicated for us building interfaces to every router, say in the top 50 routers in the world, and to finalizing that blockchain sequence between the advertiser and the home router owner.
But in other words, like as part of the beta test, how widespread is that test?
We are testing that now within Russia, and we're adding some beta testers. Actually, on our website, there is a place that people can go and sign up to be a beta tester, because we want it to be as broad as possible, from any country where they might be.
Talk a little bit about the token, right? What is the functionality and use of the token?
Right. The token is basically used to pay for the advertising. The advertisers pay the home router owners in tokens. That is how the home router owners will make money. It allows us to go cross-border seamlessly around the world, and is a very good method to run the payments internally.
Is there an economy of scale sort of element here where, for example, having 1,000 people sharing their router in the same city would be more useful than 1,000 people across 10 cities, for example, or does that not really matter?
That only matters, it doesn't matter per se the way you ask, but we also have a referral program. So if you have a root invite, which you will receive if you invest in the ICO, that root invite allows you to invite any of your colleagues or anyone. Actually, if you're an ISP, you can make it part of your product offering, and it allows you to invite a second level. And that second level can also invite a third level, their colleagues, friends, whomever. The owner of the initial invite then receives some of the advertising revenue from the second level, and the second level from the third level. It's sort of a multi-level marketing scheme, but what it does is encourages our community to expand the community, get more and more router owners into the system.
Well, because it really depends on having the fullest coverage possible, right? Like you want sort of a viral spread of that router signal being shared, because that's how you get in the direction of someone of covering as much of the planet as possible. It seems that would be the end goal.
That's exactly it. In 2009, I worked for a large company in Moscow. We had the largest Wi-Fi network in the world at that point in Moscow. It was 14,000 meshed access points. But we were the ones putting it there. We had all the communications costs. We had all the router costs. And it was a big infrastructure project. This method with World Wi-Fi allows us to avoid all of that. This can go viral. It will go via the internet, and it'll go to any router that we're clever enough to target, or any router that we're clever enough to distribute with the router sale itself.
Super interesting. Fred Ledbetter, advisor for World Wi-Fi. You can find out more about the project and the ICO by using the links in the video description. Fred, I really appreciate you talking to me about this today.
Thanks, David. Thank you very much.